Good morning, everybody. I'd just like to thank Sarah and Karen for inviting me today. What I try and get over in my talk is how difficult it was for us as a family, and actually how we were excluded and people presumed that we knew everything, and actually I knew nothing. My background is I was a theatre nurse, so surgical skills, yes, very, very good. Anaesthetics, very good, bit of critical care, but paediatric was way out of my comfort zone. So this first slide, probably now the most important thing is that I'm a chauffeur for my 10-year-old daughter in all her activities that she does. I'm probably PA to my husband and my son, who's just started a teaching job. So I just wanted to talk to you a little bit about our journey. Initial diagnosis, working from A&E to discharge, a bit about the primary care support, and then Sophia today and beyond. So this is Sophia. She was born in 2004. No medical history, adverse medical history at all, was a very healthy child, normal development, was never ill at all. And on the 17th of February was the day our lives changed forever. Sophia had a cold, just sniffles, nothing major, nothing that over-worried me at all. And had been up the evening, well, in the early hours of the morning of the 17th of February, just grumbly and a bit cranky and wanted to drink, and went back to bed. She was fine. By 7:30 in the morning, when I went back in, so she'd gone back to bed about 4 o'clock, she said to me, "I'm tired, Mummy, I want to sleep, but I'll just have a drink." She had a drink, went back to sleep. By 8 o'clock, my daughter was unconscious, and my husband and I attempted to resuscitate her. We had, actually, the nursing head went out of the window completely. I didn't even think of meningitis, to be honest. She had a very high temperature. She was she was sleepy initially, before she arrested. Her skin had taken on a marble waxed colour. There were no purple blotches. We did discover one as we were getting her into the ambulance, which was the size of an old sixpence, and that was it. We had nothing else. That was the only indication, really, to me as a nurse, that this was meningitis. Our roller coaster began. It took us 7 minutes to get from home to the local hospital, in which time she'd arrested twice more. Into A&E, where I'd been a matron, to be met by all my consultant anaesthetists, which was a little bit disconcerting. Where we spent 4 hours in A&E, trying to get peripheral lines. Obviously they intubated Sophia. And it was very difficult as a nurse to stand back, and with the greatest of respect to the medical profession, if my father is obviously one, it was very difficult to see juniors to try and get lines in when I actually knew that I could do it myself. So there was a lot of frustration in there, and it was the old adage, 3 shots and you're out. And if you can't do it, I will do it myself, which actually wasn't the right attitude, but it was just that instinct was kicking in. It was the only way that I could protect my daughter. After 4.5 hours, the team came out from Pendlebury Children's Hospital, which is no longer there now, led by the intensivologist Peter Mark Fortune, who was absolutely amazing. And transferred Sophia to Pendlebury, where they said to us, "You can't come into the ambulance with us." And obviously, being quite a stroppy nurse, I wanted to be in the ambulance with my daughter to make sure everybody was doing everything right. Not that I knew whether they were doing anything right or wrong. But they told us no, because they were well aware that they would probably have to continue working on her all the way across to Manchester, which they did. And thankfully, we didn't see her arrest again, which she did. 3 weeks in intensive care, and we were transferred to the burns unit, but prior to that, we were still on 72 hours and we actually didn't know if Sophia was going to survive. She was still on full inotropes, her mean pressure was so low, and all the time it was just a constant watching of the monitors and trying to interpret what was happening and trying not to overreact either, because the intensive care staff were amazing. In that time, her limbs had started to turn black, and we were told at one stage that she would lose a couple of toes on her left foot, and at the time that seemed absolutely horrendous. How is a 2.5-year-old going to cope? Then it was actually she's going to lose half of her foot. Then it was she might lose her foot. So that was where we were when we left ITU. Her right leg was also very badly damaged, but they'd done compartment tests and they said that that would be fine. And we just need to debride and keep an eye on that. So we were transferred to the burns unit. Within 3 days of being in the burns unit, Sophia had her left leg amputated below the knee. And they tried to save her right leg, which with hindsight now, looking back, you know, at the time if somebody were to say to me, your daughter's going to lose both legs, I would have fought tooth and nail to keep the right leg. The right leg is now the one that's giving her problems. She wears a permanent rigid orthosis on there. She's no dorsiflexion on her foot. It's just like a little skinny weed of a leg now. So there are some decisions to be made. All the growth plates are badly damaged, but ultimately Sophia, you know, is at a point she calls her amputation like her little leggy, and she says it would be easier for her now if she had 2 little leggies, because the leg that's remaining is a hindrance. 4 months after we entered the burns unit at Booth Hall Children's Hospital, we were discharged home, which was a great day. But unfortunately, because I was also a nurse, there was a lot of things that there was an expectation of me that I would sit Sophia in the bath and do her dressings, and that was a very difficult thing to do. Primary care, we had great support from the occupational therapist and the physio. Sophia was going for hydrotherapy every week. She not only had to learn to crawl again, she had been potty trained, she was dry, she went back into nappies, she didn't speak for 6 weeks after discharge, she wouldn't eat because she'd obviously been enterally fed for so long. So we had a lot of support from the dietitian and our specialist health visitor, who was phenomenal. And then the local PCT, as it was then, reduced all the paediatric funding to our area. So hydrotherapy, we had to take for private hydrotherapy. Children's physio services declined, so we had to pay for private physio. We went through a pretty tough time financially, actually, because both my husband and I stopped working at this point. So, unfortunately, that's a video and it's not working. It was when Sophia got her first prosthesis. I was hoping that it would play, but it's not playing at the moment. So, when Sophia was 3.5, she got her first leg. She refused to wear a prosthesis up until that point by saying, I can get around faster on my knees, which was great. And now she says she bottom scooches now, if she doesn't want to put her leg on. So age 3 to 7, she started to have Ponseti treatment on her right foot. You can't really see that, but there is a lot of damage. She's got a lot of skin grafts. Her whole legs are completely excoriated and scarred from skin grafting. And she's now got issues with her left little leg, where we've got growth imbalance, and basically it's growing like a banana now at the moment. But we're working on that. So for me, my frustrations were ongoing. I had a little girl here who psychologically wasn't coping very well with her disability. We would sit maybe up to 6 hours in the prosthetic department waiting to be seen. Then when we'd actually been seen, it would take another 6 or 7 weeks for delivery for either an orthosis or a socket. She was having problems with a badly fitting socket, limited prostheses were available, and we felt that nobody was listening to us at all. And there didn't seem to be a coordinated approach. So we were very fortunate in that we got a new consultant in our SMRC centre who had a particular interest in children. And we pulled together an MDT meeting and got all the professionals around the table to sort of talk to us about what we needed to do and how we could progress this. And for me, that was, couldn't understand why we'd never done that before. We had an MDT prior to discharge, but there'd been no follow-up whatsoever. And the implications of these frustrations are that Sophia started to become more wheelchair dependent. She didn't want to walk. She wanted to stay in her wheelchair. She had a reluctance to wear prosthesis. We went through stages that we had to walk around with liners on our heads and liners on our noses and make it as funny as we could. She was suffering from damage to her knees because she was walking around on her knees, and the stress levels in the family were over the top. At the time that Sophia was taken ill, my son was just doing his A-levels. And as time progressed, he obviously went to university and he was away from home, and that bond, he was suffering as well. So Sophia's ongoing issues. She suffers from chronic migraine. Her teeth, as you can see, obviously her second teeth weren't through when she was taken ill, and obviously the damage was done because they were already in place. Psychologically, that hadn't put her in a very good place at school. She was 9 on these photographs, and little girls at 9 can be very cruel and very wicked. And she suffered a lot of taunts and bullying about, you don't brush your teeth are dirty. We took her to a private dentist and managed to get her some just enamel covers, and not crowns, just some enamel covers just for the cosmesis for her. But funnily enough, there's only one dentist that I've met on one of the MRF research days that actually will do this for children on the NHS. It's private. Nobody seems to recognise that actually this is a massive issue with children, the damage to the teeth. She wears glasses now, which is great, because she's got several pairs of funky glasses, but she's only got 20% vision in her right eye, and that went undetected when she was discharged. Psychologically, she has good days and bad days. She will get up in the morning and say, I feel very sad, and she can't tell you why she feels sad, but she puts it down that the fact that she's been ill. Some days she's very angry with the world, and just locks herself away. She will go from laughing absolutely, raucous laughter to tears in the space of a couple of minutes, and she can't tell you why that happens. So it goes from joy to tears, back to joy, back to tears. And obviously she's now 10, so we're going through all the growing up hormonal, emotional issues that comes with being a 10-year-old little girl. So for Sophia, London 2012 was a turning point for her, that she actually realised that she could do things that maybe she thought she couldn't do. And we work very closely with another charity called Empower, which encourages children to partake in any sports that they can. It's cost us a lot of money, I have to say. She has got lots of friends in the Paralympic GB team now. She ran with Richard Whitehead when he did his 40 marathons in 40 days. As you can see, she's got a blade leg now. Johnny Peacock, obviously, she's a junior ambassador for the charity, and Johnny is a patron, so they've got a very special bond. Hannah Cockcroft calls her Hurricane Sophia now, and Steph Reed in the corner is probably the athlete who's been an amazing mentor to Sophia, and calls Sophia her leg sister, and gave Sophia the nickname of Sonic Sophia. So this was the Pushing the Boundaries campaign for MRF at the start when we were launching to get the vaccine, and Sophia and Johnny were the face of that vaccine. That was obviously a couple of years ago now. But obviously she was very proud to have her new blade. And this is a picture. These are the international T44s, which is a category for Paralympics that Sophia would be in should she ever decide to do the sport. And these are the world medalists, gold medalists, and gold, silver, and bronze medalists. So she thinks she's pretty cool. And actually, you can see they're all quite young, really, aren't they? So I think there's a little bit of a crush on a couple of them. Okay, so Sophia today. Sophia has now undertaken 4 junior marathons with the Manchester City Games and the Great North Run. She's got the Manchester City Games again in May. As you can see, everything's purple because that's a charity's colour. So we even had to bling up the blade and have that made purple. She's raised £36,000 for MRF in the last 18 months. She horse rides now. She's got a handbike because she has difficulty with a normal bike. She's swimming, she's got a swim leg, and she goes to athletics training twice a week now. Obviously that was a great Manchester run last year. And that's my husband, by the way, that just is Team Sophia. He's got 10k to do in May. I don't know how he's going to do it because he's not been doing any training. Sophia keeps telling him she's doing 3 and he's doing 10. And obviously as a result of her fundraising, she was made the first junior ambassador for the charity. She takes her duties very seriously. She presents in local schools and talks to children. Richard Whitehead came to her school as part of her awareness campaign earlier this year. These are all her friends in her class. And she is a fantastic ambassador for the charity. She's a great mentor. This is Olivia, one of her friends with Diplococcus. So she goes everywhere with Sophia. She is always in her hand when she's running. And Olivia is probably 2 years post MenB. Yeah, she's a very good little mentor to all of these people. She's 8 years now, so and it was her ampiversary, as she said. 2 years ago, her 8-year ampiversary, 2 days ago. She's done a lot in the media, just really basically to raise awareness. She's talked about her role as junior ambassador and you know, how meningitis has affected her, really. And we wrote a very strong letter to Mr. Cameron about the MenB vaccine, and we got a personal response, which was a start. And Sophia managed to get it into his hands at another charity event we were at. Sophia's ideology is, if I had £1 million with me, I'd buy every child a vaccine so that nobody has to go through what I went through. And we're obviously in the midst of a massive Twitter fest at the minute. Where's our vaccine? As you can see, these are our 2 new additions. They're the 2 dogs that are also have to wear MRF t-shirts. And Sophia with all her legs and splints and everything else. So 361 days today since we heard about the vaccine. So yeah, every day we're tweet mad at the minute. But the 17th of February now, for us, 5 years ago, I never thought I'd be stood up here saying this, because 5 years ago I would have locked myself away and didn't want to see anybody on the 17th of February. We now call it Bug Busting Day. So we have a party on the 17th of February. We get all the family together, we have a cake. Obviously there has to be presents, I'm sure that's what it's all about. And we actually celebrate that she's here, because we are very fortunate. We are the fortunate parents. You know, we know children who are quadruple amputees, far more debilitating than Sophia. We are very fortunate. So it's just, we just need to get the vaccine now into the programme. Sophia's had hers, by the way. But we're in that position where we're fortunate to be able to do that. There's not, you know, some parents aren't. But thank you for letting me share Sophia's story.